welcome. I think we,
Hi.
we don't have the video for the spoiler, but welcome to the Sif spoils for I'm thinking of ending things. We're gonna try this. We're gonna try to live stream our spoiler conversation. We've put SPOILERCAST right in the title, so hopefully people know that we're going to be talking about more of the spoilers of what's going on here with the movie. I'm thinking of ending things again on Netflix, starring Jesse Buckley and Jesse Plemons. Do you think Charlie Kaufman was really happy that he had two Jessies playing those characters? Like the actors were both named Jesse, the actor and the actress.
They all die. Yeah, I think it was pretty fun for him to say that. Yeah. No,
All
I
right.
think that could be pretty confusing unless he just called them by their last name or their quote
Yeah.
unquote character
Yeah.
names,
So one
which
of
we
the
can
one
get
of the
into
fun
now, finally.
Yeah, one of the fun things about being able to do this live with you is the ability for you to interact if you're watching, and that will hopefully give us some more angles on spoiler things that you want to know about, that you have questions about. We would love to hear some of the things since we assume that you've seen the movie if you're listening to or watching this. We would love to continue to have those conversations. But Andrew, I'm going to kick it off right here by saying, tell me what you thought this movie was doing. What is the code? What's your code breaker for this movie? How do you view it? How do you understand what's happening?
Um, well, for a good portion of this movie, I thought we were going to get the entire thing told through the eyes of, like I said, I'm just going to call her Lucy. I know she goes by multiple names in this movie, but just
Not
for
only multiple
context,
names, but also multiple outfit changes out of nowhere.
yeah.
All of a sudden she'll be wearing
Oh,
different clothing.
the first time that that she meets the mother and father, and they're like talking on the stairs, and they have gray hair and everything, and then they walk right into the dining table. I actually stopped it and I rewound it because I thought that for David Thewlis's character, they forgot to put a wig on him as he was walking by
Yeah.
her because he had regular hair as he walked by her. I'm like, oh, I found a little thing, but then they sat
It's
down
like,
and everybody was young, and I'm like, wait, what?
what? Yeah.
Yeah, and then she went through outfit changes where she wasn't wearing that knitted sweater,
Mm-hmm.
and scenes where she was.
Yeah.
Um, I think what this movie was trying to say was, and gosh, God, I'm so wrong on this. I know I am, but this is what I took away from it. Is
There
in the
is no right or
beginning,
wrong. There is no right or
yeah,
wrong.
is that we were getting a look at what she thought if she were to stay with Jake, the montage of what her life would look like. You know, like she would meet the parents, then they would the next time she would see them old, she would see them young, she would have the awkward conversations, she would have, all of those interactions with them she had within that one time she was in that house. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then whenever we started seeing the mom go through, she was saying that she had stuff wrong with her mentally. I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe this is a commentary on what it's like to live with Alzheimer's, where you have a conversation with somebody and they're old, but then the next time you have a conversation with somebody, they're young. Like your mind can't keep track of time
Mm-hmm.
correctly anymore, and maybe that's what the movie's saying. And then um, they get back in the car and they start to drive back to her house, and they start having the that conversation about the uh oh, what's the name of that movie, the a woman apart, or what is it?
I don't remember. You'll have to either look it up or just kind of move on, and we can kind of go
Yeah,
back to it at some point.
yeah, but it's where she actually takes on airs to give that critical review of the movie, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
she's doing a Pauline Kael
yeah.
impersonation. So yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I found that to be interesting, because it's like, okay, so what's I don't that particular scene, I don't know what the movie was trying to say. I don't know
Okay.
what that movie was trying to say in that
Okay.
moment. Then they get to the Tulsi Town, which is that a real thing, Tulsi Towns, or is it something they just made up for this?
Oh, the ice cream place?
Yeah,
I think it's supposed to be a Dairy Queen kind of look-alike kind of idea.
yeah. Um, and the third girl in there was trying to warn her about you don't have to go through time linearly or something like that.
Okay.
It got really, really confusing for me there. Like I said,
Okay.
that whole second interaction in the car was I didn't get, but I was fascinated and I wanted to watch. Then they get to the school
Mm-hmm.
and uh, um, they she meets the janitor. Now here's a question. The entire time I'm watching this movie, I was curious: is the janitor an older Jake? That's what I was wondering for this movie.
Okay.
Is if
Okay.
the janitor
It's a
is an
great
older
question. It's a
Jake.
great question. I have ideas. I'll give you my ideas once you finish up.
Okay. Um, then there is a beautiful dance number
Mm-hmm.
by dancing. I think they're actually listed as dancing Jake and dancing woman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But oh, that was beautiful. It was like, okay, well, you had at the house, the montage of like the family. This could be, the a musical, like a what would you call a ballet version of what your life would be like. There's
Mm-hmm.
the honeymoon section where everything is beautiful and flying. And I don't know exactly what the janitor attacking Jake was supposed to symbolize. Is that like he's coming in to kill his youth and that is who he's supposed to become? Or I have no idea. But then the thing that I want to talk about the most in this is at the very end he's giving that acceptance speech like he's John Nash or something.
Mm-hmm. It's the same
And
speech. It's the same
is
speech
it
from A
really?
Beautiful Mind. It's the same speech. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was the same speech, but yeah, that's funny enough that I said it was like John Nash. Then I guess
It is literally
subconsciously I
like
knew.
John Nash. Yeah.
Yeah, subconsciously, that's really funny. Then he starts to sing "The Floor Creaks, the Door Squeaks" from Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
which that song is sung from the perspective of the villain in
Yep.
Oklahoma.
Yep.
What is the movie trying to tell me here? Is the movie trying to say that Jake is a villain this whole time, or so
This
many
is
things to
fun.
dissect from that last
This is
segment?
fun.
Okay, yeah. So, and then the credits are in the tiniest font possible.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Andrew. You ready for me to break this down for you? How my
Please,
brain process this?
yes, please.
So I think the ballet at the end is the code breaker. I think this is what finally I was leaning in a couple places all the way through. I guess I can walk you through that. First of all, the very first thing we see is the janitor, not Jesse's character, or at least we see them in the same opening scene.
Yeah,
And he is almost speaking into her mind in some way. Like there's definitely something weird going on with he's reciting
the
something and
slippers.
yeah. And so then I'm wondering about that. Like, is he the storyteller? Is he the writer of this story? Those kind of thoughts are already percolating in my head.
Yeah,
So then they continue on their story. Jake, right? Isn't that the guy's name? Jake?
Jake is Jesse
Um,
Plemons' character. Yeah,
right. So Jake and the woman, the young woman or whatever, continue on their story. And the next thing that kind of tweaked my brain was where she would be narrating to herself, thinking to herself, and it was almost like Jesse Plemons could hear her. I think you mentioned this in the podcast.
yeah,
And it was almost like he kind of knew what she was thinking about because he would like kind of push in on it and be like, "Are you sure that's what you sure it's nothing?" That kind of thing. So then I'm
yeah,
like, okay, well, what's that about? Then I noticed the name changes. I noticed she would kind of become different, almost personalities, whether it was to be like Pauline Kael for the review, or there was another one where she recited a poem.
yeah,
And it was a devastating poem. And I think that poem has even deeper meaning for the movie itself. I'd have to have it in front of me to
yeah.
look through it again. And so I'm like,
Then
okay,
she
what's going
be
on here?
then for like a second she became Colby Menifee, who's in The Boys, who was Yvonne in the Robert Zemeckis movie.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And you've got the janitor watching this movie, directed by Robert Zemeckis, comes up.
Do you think that was
So
really directed by Robert Zemeckis a little bit?
no, 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 no. I think it's another statement on how pop culture, how things influence, how they form how we see the world, right?
Mm.
There's also discussions about farm life once they're to the farm, about the pig, who's being eaten inside out by maggots, and how farm life is tough. You get a sense for his parents through different stages of their life. And so now I'm really noticing things. Obviously, they're much older. They're doing, things in a different way. They're, younger, older, senile, not senile. What's in the basement? The dog is weird. The dog is always shaking. You never see the dog's face. Like, what is that about? This kind of thing. And then they go to the school, and he thinks somebody is spying on them. It's the janitor. He goes in, then she locks herself out of the car. So she goes in, she meets the janitor, she hugs the janitor, and then the ballet happens. And this is where here's what I unlocked from the ballet dance. I think that what we're dealing with here is one character. We are dealing with Jake. Jake is the janitor. And what he is doing is imagining what life would have been like if he had found the perfect woman. And he is imagining speaking into this woman, trying out different outfits on her, trying out different personalities on her, trying, thinking about, the things he's seen from pop culture and what relationships look like and what they're supposed to look like. What would it have been if he had taken her to, home to meet mom and dad? And then he's thinking about how everything about that influenced who he was and why he's so messed up and why he's never had a healthy relationship in his life. And, these kind of things, why he's a loner, why he's, on his last legs and still alone. And so he's imagining what this trip would have been like and, kind of thinking of that. And then the ballet is basically this idealized version, like you said, shades of La La Land, right? Like this idealized version of, what it could have been. But then the janitor character, is reality, and he can't let that Jake live because that Jake doesn't exist. He doesn't deserve that. He's never been that person, and his interaction with women have always been awkward and always been, they're represented by the girls who are laughing at him at the Dairy Queen or whatever it's called in this movie. He's an outcast. He's been, put to the side. And so he is in many ways, he is wrestling with the fact that he doesn't know how to interact with women. He doesn't know, that idea of relationship or fun. When he sees kids around the school, he's confused by it. He doesn't understand it. They think he's a creeper. Maybe he is a creeper. Maybe, like all of these things are going on in his mind. And what we are seeing throughout maybe this entire movie, but certainly the last part of this movie, are the last moments of his life. And he is, I think, finally, the other thing you'll notice about a lot of the stuff that the Lucy character says, there's a lot of platitudes, right? Everybody's talking in like these cliches and these platitudes and, it is what it is and all these different kind of things. And it's like he's telling himself these things to find contentment, find some sort of, it's okay that I'm like this. It's okay that this is the end. And so I'm thinking of ending things as both this fantasy woman thinking of breaking up with him because, we kind of see that towards the beginning, but it's also him thinking of ending his own life. And I don't believe he commits suicide. I believe that he actually has a heart attack in the vehicle. I believe that the during credit scene, his dead body is in that snowed over truck at the end of the movie. And so you hear the plowing the drive, and you just know eventually somebody's gonna discover that he's died there at the school. So what we're seeing when he gets out of the vehicle, and we kind of see him almost like clutching his heart. He takes off all his clothes. He goes in and he's trailed by this metaphorical pig, or walks in front of him. This
Which is
animated
Oliver Platt, by the way.
right, yeah. This animated Oliver Platt maggot pig is walking in front of him. Uh, when did you think the description animated Oliver Platt maggot pig would enter into the conversation? So
Only in a
anyhow,
Kaufman movie.
right? So he walks him into this, his end moment, and what I found so striking about his end moment is he is giving John Nash's speech from a beautiful mind. That's what he wants to have meant something. He wants to have done something. By the way, when you see his childhood bedroom, you will notice like there is a Pauline Kael book in there of like her movie criticisms. There is that poetry book that she said that poem was from is in there. So like there's these signs that he has been idealizing, this type of woman, and so he's trying out those things in her, through her kind of idea. So he wants it to be this big speech, but you'll notice like everybody in the crowd is, made up, like stage makeup. They're all part of the play. And so they're not made up to look actually old like they would be in a movie. They're made up to look old like you would do somebody on stage, on a like heavy stage makeup. And so it's like it's all fake. It's all, it's all that's fake. And then he sings the song, which, like you said, is from the perspective of the loner creeper character in Oklahoma, who's, kind of the villain, because that's kind of who he is. That's kind of who he's seen himself to be, because he has this childhood growing up on a farm that he had parents that didn't really, teach him how to interact and socially and those kind of things. So he's just socially awkward, lived his whole life without a relationship, and is now, passing on a lonely, sad and unreally known man. And so it's really sad if that's the truth, but it just kind of all locked in a way that I was like, man, I think that's it. I think that's kind of where we're going here. Does any of that sound right? Make sense? Like, does that jive with you at all? I don't know, man. It's one of those movies.
It's one of those movies where you could have 15 people give 15 different interpretations and they're all right.
Yeah.
But I really do like your takeaway and your analysis of what everything meant. I dig it.
I think the thing I'm most certain of is that she is a part of his imagination, and that he and the janitor are the same person. That's what I'm most certain of, that he is trying to figure out what a real relationship would look like. And so there's just too many clues that he is inventing her. The fact that he can hear her, the books in his room, the outfit changes, all that stuff. Like that seems pretty clear to me. The other stuff may be a little more nebulous, but that's kind of where I landed. So.
I'm with you on the fact that he is the janitor. I, for a second, thought that at the end she was the one he let get away, and that those aren't her books, or those aren't his books or anything. Those are her books that she left behind. So it's what he has to remember her by. So he's remembering, or he's making up in his mind. So I guess in a sense, yeah, she is made up, but I think that she was a real person. And that he's imagining what life would have been like if she had got to meet the family, and that she had stayed around, and
That's true, and it could even be, if you mesh the two, it could just be somebody like he had a crush on in high school, but was so socially awkward he didn't know how to pursue it, and so it really is based on a real person from his, youth, that he never even got a chance to have a relationship with, because when he, approached it, he was so socially awkward, she didn't want anything to do with him, or, something like that. So, yeah, I think upon revisiting it, a lot of those pieces will kind of, hopefully grow even clearer. But man, again, one of the things I love is that he doesn't spell it out. He doesn't say, okay, I'm going to make it all make sense. He was dead the whole time, or whatever the big twist will be, they're the same person, it's the Fight Club's twist reveal is much different than this. This isn't a twist reveal as much as it is like a twist exploration. What do is there a twist? What do you think it is? It's not, there's no big reveal. Here's what it is. And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I feel like
What
I
a
talked
movie.
for several minutes, so it's your
No, well, I
turn.
talked for several minutes before you did,
Right,
so
right, yeah.
um, we're each of us is like, do you think this could be right? That's what we were saying. That's so great. You said that upon rewatching this, you'll hopefully understand more. How long do you think it's going to take you to go back to watch this, or do you feel like you need a buffer period before you can go back and watch something
No,
as heavy as
I
this?
I might go back and watch it just because I'm curious about a lot of that stuff. I want to see if I can grasp more from things like the entire dumpster full of Blizzard cups. Like, what does that mean? Like, is there something there? Like the idea that his life is just a series of, blizzards.
Oh, that was another thing that I had. Um, yes, he is the janitor, but that one particular scene made me think of had one thought. What if he is taking different versions of an ideal woman through this scenario of meeting the parents and everything, but they all end the same way. Well, like if he doesn't think it's going well, he takes them to the school where possibly everything just resets, and that those cups of flurries
Yeah,
are the cups of all the failed, imaginative women that
right.
he's, brought home to meet.
It definitely symbolizes the idea of a never-ending rut, right? It symbolizes a
Yeah.
rut or, something happening over and over again where just, where his life has been so unremarkable that it's just, yeah, there's some sort of emphasis there on that. I think
Yeah.
you're right. So, yeah.
Yeah. What
And
a movie to dissect.
oh man, like, and I feel like we just scratched the surface too. Like there's just so many, because I think isn't there a moment where we know for sure that either the janitor or Jake hears her thoughts? Is it the janitor at the end? I feel like they're communicating with their thoughts at the end, right
Oh,
before they
it's a
dance.
scene where he says something in his mind and she responds.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's right. I think that's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, man,
There's
there's a lot
I can
here.
imagine Charlie Kaufman listening to this spoil analysis, and he's just like laughing maniacally, like, "Oh, if you only knew, you haven't even scratched the surface."
It's probably true. It's probably
Yeah,
true.
but
Do
regardless,
we
Mr.
know?
Kaufman, we liked it.
Yeah, we did. Do we know if Jesse Plemons actually sang that song, or if that was a stunt voice? Do we know?
He's got a great singing voice. If it
I was
is
because
him,
whoever sang that was awesome. So I just wanted to give
yeah,
props, whoever it was
and it
that sang
didn't
that, because
sound
it
like
sounded
it.
great.
It sounded like it would have been his singing voice. Like
Hmm.
if it's not, then they found somebody who
Right, it
really
works.
captured.
It
Yeah,
definitely works. I just wasn't 100% sure. And if it is, it's something I didn't know Jesse Plemons had in his bag of tricks, which is fun. That he would
yeah.
be able to sing like that too. So I was
What a
curious about
double
that.
threat.
Double threat guy. Yeah. Yeah. I there's again plenty else we could go talk about, but I think I'd have to watch it again to pull that out.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'll probably watch it again before the end of the year, just for to make sure I have it at a secure spot in my rankings.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's a good call. Good call. Thank you for hanging out with us during the SIF spoil. These are now broadcasting live as well. After we're done with the show on
yeah,
Sundays, and when we do a SIF spoil, we hop on and broadcast those live. So if you want to interact with any questions that you have about the movies we're talking about, anything like that, we will be around to do those things too. So appreciate you being with us, and we'll catch you next week.
bye.